Okay.
Okay, awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. We have a couple of folks entering the webinar, so we'll just give it a moment for everyone to join the webinar. So excited for today's webinar. And let's go ahead and give it a moment. While we're waiting, we were just talking about me being in New York and how all where you live is so small here, but then you mentioned places like Houston, people from New York going to Houston for the first time and seeing a house and their mansions out there. It's just crazy and how interesting how different places are. Michael, you had mentioned you're from Idaho, right?
Correct, Boise, Idaho.
Awesome. While we're waiting for everyone to join, just drop in the Q&A where you're from. Be interesting to see where everyone is joining from. Or chat or Q&A. Ooh, we have Seattle in the house. Complete opposite end of the country from where I am. We have Ontario, Canada, Chicago, New Mexico, Canada again in the house. Awesome. We have good representation. San Francisco, California, Walnut Creek, California. Very nice. Texas, New Braunfels. I actually went tubing one time in New Braunfels. A lot of great rivers out there near Toronto. Awesome. Okay, so give about one more minute for everyone to continue joining the webinar, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, and while we're waiting, some housekeeping items. If you have any questions, just go ahead and leverage that Q&A chat, and we'll go ahead and answer. We do have a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar, and we'll address those questions at the very end. Okay, so go ahead and just jot down your questions in Q&A, and we'll revisit those questions towards the end. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. So thank you all for joining this month's customer webinar. Today we have Michael Mullins from JTC CPAs, and he's going to be talking about how he uses financial sense with his firm. And he's going to be talking about how he became more efficient, how he's improved his operations, and how he's grew his firm. He's going to talk about some of the challenges that he's faced and why financial sense was a good fit and how he implemented into his firm, which will hopefully give you some insights on how you could potentially do the same. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Michael, and I'm looking forward to your presentation. I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome, thank you, Anthony. Welcome. I'm glad to be part of this. I enjoy working with Financial Sense and their team. They're great people to work with and to communicate with, and appreciate them. So let's get to that. Okay, just a little bit about JTC CPAs. We're based out of Boise, Idaho. That's our primary office. We have an office in Chandler, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, Arlington, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, and Orlando, Florida. And we're able to have locations throughout the United States, and we'll have more coming on in the future, because we're able to do what we need to do through Financial Sense. And the project management, it works great, and we're able to make the assignments, follow the progress without being in the same location. We started out with Financial Sense very early in 2020, when before the COVID fiasco, we were already implementing the paperless system, and good thing we did, because we really needed that. and it worked out well. Right now we're at 44 employees. We'll be over 50 employees by January 1. And so we definitely are in a growing phase. We provide a tax service. That's, of course, our primary service, but we also have bookkeeping, payroll, consulting, CFO, controller services. Bookkeeping, we have 345 monthly bookkeeping clients that we do bookkeeping for. We prepare a couple thousand personal returns, and we'll be about 1,300 business returns this year. Next year, we will be about 3,200 personal returns and 2,200 business returns. So we're definitely growing, and we're able to do it, we feel, confidently, because we can utilize the tools that Financial Sense has to help us stay organized. So Anthony already touched base on this, the problems, why we chose Financial Sense, how we use it a little bit. We're going to give you a little live demo, and then, of course, the question and answer scenario. Some of those I might answer, some of those Anthony might answer on the Q&A. So the problems we were facing is, I started with, Jack started his firm back in 2008. He decided he wanted to really grow it, and I joined him in 2016. And at that time, it was pretty small, and really we didn't have any really good way to track projects. And so we didn't have a way to track projects. Internal communication were sticky notes that people would write a note on and go put on somebody's desk, and problem with that is then it got stuck onto some other piece of paper, and nobody took care of the sticky note issue. No real way to track due dates. It was kind of up in people's head of when projects were due, and just no way to track it really. And growing a firm, you have to, of course, grow personnel, and there was no way to really track who had what work, how much work they had, and such. And so we needed some way to do all of this if we were really going to grow, which we definitely have done that since 2016 when I joined Jack. So of course we had the famous Excel and sticky note procedure and process, and that was fine when you're managing, 50 tax returns, but when you're managing thousands of them, it doesn't work very good. We did try a solution called Active Collab as a little project management software. We tried Jetpack Workflow, and we tried another little guy by the name of Husky, and they just didn't quite provide us what we wanted and weren't quite as easy to use. And so we kept on looking. So why did we choose Financial Sense? Among the other things is we liked that we could have our client management, our time tracking, and our project management in one solution. So we didn't have to have multiple platforms. We could just have one platform. So we really liked that concept. We love the fact that when we started with them, we were able to give them comments and product improvement that they would be willing to look at and implement. And that was a huge draw to us, because then we could help have a say in how the product functions and how it works, which was great. They, if we had any issues, concerns, questions of how to do it, what to do, they responded really quickly to our inquiries when we asked them what we needed. The software is easy. It's easy to learn. It's easy to use. and that's a great plus as well. And we think overall it's a great value. And so that's why we chose to go with Financial Sense. And a short little story, we actually looked at Financial Sense before we tried some of these others. They didn't have the time tracking capabilities. And I actually had talked with Sharam many years ago and said, hey, I can't utilize you because you don't have time tracking. And I don't know if that's why he put it in there, but then we saw that he did put it in there. And so we're like, oh, hey, yeah, let's do it. So that was great. So we were happy with that. So the specific features we use relate to templates. We really like the fact that we can make the templates our own. And that is a great thing for us. We don't really use any of the provided templates that they have, but it's easy to create your own to your own processes. And so that was a great thing that we like. We love the automated tags. We use a lot of tags in our processes, and being able to automate those has saved us a lot of time, have saved us a lot of projects that go into a black hole that don't get completed. And so the automated tags is a great thing for us. The start date, internal due date, and due date we use all the time. And we'll talk a little bit about that more on the live demo. The client tasks, we will talk a little bit more as well, but that's another feature that we really like that has really helped the collection of client data. And then the team chat in the projects, being able to replace sticky notes with comments and have them all centralized. So anybody that is looking at a project knows what's going on with it is wonderful. That we love that feature. So we're going to go to the live demo. So let me move this screen over here. Now, this is not my actual Financial Sense. So we are not disclosing any client information here. This is all a dummy account that they provide to us. So I just wanted to make sure people understood that so that we weren't disclosing client information. So here is the workflow screen, which we spend a lot of time in. Each of the staff members has theirs set up. So when they first pull up Financial Sense, their workflow is what shows. So every morning they come in, they pull this up, they know exactly what they have to get done that day, what they have to get done that week. And so this is great that we can change this workflow in that homepage so that the staff members pull it up and they know exactly what they have to get done. For us, the start date is the date in which we got the project. The client requested it, the client sent in documents, we had a meeting with the client and they're like, hey, let's get this going. That's when we started. Our internal goal for a tax return is 2 weeks. To get it in, to get it done, to get the inquiries, to get it all taken care of is 2 weeks. And so our internal due date is 2 weeks out from the start date. We don't ever change the internal due date. That's a locked date. That gets put in when the project gets started, and then that stays stagnant. That way we can see with a quick visual, oh, here's our internal due date. Where are we with the project? Because the due date, this number is this is a fluid date. We have the internal due date of October 3rd, But if we go to a client and say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z in order to complete your tax return, we need to, that might extend that due date because we can't complete it in 2 weeks if the client hasn't provided us all the information. And so when we send out a request for information, the actual due date gets modified so that it gives time for the client to respond. And that way we still know of, the staff member knows that, okay, I put in a request, in 5 days I need to follow up with the client, and the due date tells the staff member, oh, I've got to follow up with the client. And so this date's going to fluctuate depending on when the client request goes out. Now, if we don't put out a client request and this actually turns red because it's past due, then we leave it red because that would tell us, hey, we're missing something. Maybe we have somebody overloaded, maybe they were sick and we need to reassign or whatever. And so they don't just change this so it's not red to tell us that it's past due. This only gets changed when we actually send a request out to the client for information, so we know when to follow up with the client. So let's bounce over to the actual project itself. So when we have the project, now these are all assigned to me because I didn't go in and put in a whole bunch of staff members, but and this is not our exact template. This is one that Financial Sense uses, but I used it as an example. Our template is about twice this long for our process for a tax return. And depending on the step will depend on who is assigned the project. The great thing about Financial Sense that they've implemented since we started with them is that in your general workflow, it shows who's next in the project. So who's the next open task, who's that assigned to, shows in their workflow. And that was very important for us to get Financial Sense to change and to implement, because in a single tax return, we have 6 different people that are going to touch it probably. And with the different, being able to make assignments, it makes the flow very easy because it shows up in their workflow. They know what they need to do. The automated tags are wonderful because you check off the task and the tag populates. One of the problems that we initially had when we were working with Financial Sense, and I'm glad that they implemented this automated tag feature, is that we're working with humans, right? And staff members are going to forget to add a tag to a project, and then it gets stalled because there's not a tag telling somebody, hey, this is what's going to happen. And so we really loved this feature because it took out that human error. And as you click through, the tags change, which tell the people, okay, what needs to happen? Where is this? And it's great from a management standpoint, because then I can pull a quick visual in the workflow. I can pull up which projects are in end processing right now, and I can see, oh, we have 30 projects that need to get end processed. and I can talk to the docs team and say, hey, what's going on? Why aren't these getting done? We're running out of time, or whatever I need to do. This tag sorting and features we use all day, every day. It's a great way to have a quick visual without having to go into each project to see where it's at. I can have a quick visual, and it helps with the management of the flow of the process. And we use the tags not just on tax returns. For this example, I only put it in a tax return, but the automated of tags, it's great. We love it. And you can click through, and it's just as an example, and then you can lock and close, and then they give you your little fun fireworks display there for you. Okay, so that's what the tags, great for us. We love it. It really helps. Another feature that is really good to help with the flow of management is being able to sort and use these sort features on the client, on staff members, and be able to say, oh, who has what. And this gives you another quick visual of, oh, how many projects does this individual have? We use this quite a bit each day. The client groups is another good thing that because we have lots of different locations, it's going to help us because we can put like the Tucson clients in a Tucson group. We can put Florida clients in a Florida group and such. And that way we can be able to say, okay, how are we doing on our Tucson clients and taking care of them? We can pull a report. We can see that. And that's another great management tool, is being able to quickly run reports and be able to see where the projects are, what the staff members have on their plate, because it's so easy to see it. You can pull up somebody, you can see, oh, this person has 10 projects and 5 of them are past due. Oh, I need to go talk to that person. What's going on with that individual? Did we give them too hard of projects? Did we pull them off for something else? And so we love the quick, easy visual that Financial Sense provides. On the Now this one doesn't have any, but we like their dashboard and the fact that we can keep the client comments. We see the activity down here when we make a comment about a client, and being able to add additional comments here, because then if, say, Brett is working on a tax return, he's not here, and then the client calls in and says, hey, I need to talk to Brett. Oh, well, Brett's sick. We can still go into Financial Sense. We can keep that project moving because we can go in, we can look, and his comments will be there, and we will know what we need. And then whoever answers that phone can talk to the client and say, oh, this is what we still need. And they can get us what we need and keep the project moving. So that's another nice, efficient thing about the comments and being able to make those comments, is being able to keep that flow. Keep the flow of information going to the clients so that they can get us the information so we can complete the project. A couple other little things here, the team chat. This is a great thing. This replaces all those sticky notes that get stuck and lost and don't ever get taken care of. anytime we talk to a client, we make a comment. Anytime we do something, we make a comment. And very important to keep this current. Now, of course, you're still working with staff members and humans, and none of us are perfect, and so sometimes we're missing the comments and such, but for the most part, we do pretty good with this. The client tasks, being able to submit these client tasks. Before, it was just a phone call, and then the client would forget what we told them on the phone. It was an email. But then the clients are like, well, how do I send it to you? How do you get it? I don't want to email it because I got confidential information. So this is great. This really has helped us increase our efficiency, gathering the information from the clients. And you put your client tasks here of what they need to provide to you. And then you come to your manage notifications and you send it out. And of course, if it's a husband and wife and you have both of their contact information in financial sense, you would have both names here. And so uh, both husband and wife would be able to get those reminders to say, hey, this is the information we need. We have found that when we send these client tasks, our clients like to respond in the client chat. And then they just chat with us instead of sending email back and forth. They really like this chat feature. And so clients will chat and give us information that we need. And again, it's a way to gather the information into one platform and do so quickly and efficiently. The time tracking, all of the staff members put their time in. They put it in the project in which they're working. And it makes it nice when we go to price projects and such that we can look at the time tracking and say, oh, for this project, this is how many hours, this is what we worked on and such. So those are the super quick rundown of some of the main features that we use in financial sense to help our efficiency and to make sure that we're getting out client information, client projects done in a timely manner so that the clients are satisfied and they're happy with our service.
Okay, so we just sent out a poll that you can answer. Are you interested in learning more about financial sense? Just press yes or no. If you choose yes, we'll go ahead and we'll partner you with an account manager so that if you want to schedule a demo of a more detailed demo about how you would like to see financial sense, we can set that up for you. So just go ahead and fill out the vote and we'll reach out to you after the webinar. Okay, awesome. So we can go ahead and start accepting Q&A questions from the participants. And we already have one new question. Michael, do you currently use the QBO integration with Financial Sense?
We do not.
Okay, so I can definitely cover this question. So with the Financial Sense QuickBooks Online integration, we give you the ability to import and sync your clients over from QuickBooks Online. We also give you the ability to sync your time entries. So when you start recording and tracking time inside of Financial Sense, you can send those time entries over to QuickBooks Online. And if those are billable entries, you can add them to invoices inside of QuickBooks Online. That way you can go ahead and bill a customer. You also have the ability to synchronize your service items over from QuickBooks Online, which gives you the opportunity to set those service items up inside of Financial Sense. That is the gist. It provides you an opportunity to be able to track time as you complete and mark your tasks complete. But it connects to your QuickBooks account. That way, that information is also sent over to QuickBooks along with your notes, which is recorded inside of the customer's invoices as well. If we sync QuickBooks and already have them listed as a client, will it duplicate? It will not. So if you already have existing clients inside of your Financial Sense, as long as you have the same name spelling inside of Financial Sense and it matches your QuickBooks Online clients, it will not duplicate the client. But if the spelling is slightly off and you enable the sync, it will duplicate the client. So for instance, if you have ABC Company LLC inside of Financial Sense, but inside of QuickBooks Online, it's ABC Company, it will create a second company called ABC Company inside of Financial Sense. So the key thing is make sure that both names are spelled exactly the same. And then when you link up your QuickBooks Online integration, it will not duplicate the client. Great question. Okay. Also, Michael, if you could go ahead and click on the next slide for me. Okay, so if you want to start a 14-day trial, or if you want to just find out more information about Financial Sense, you can always visit our website at www.financial-sense.com. Again, we can, if you'd like to request a consultation call or some type of demo, we will partner you with an account manager, and we'll reach out to you after the webinar. So Heather asks is, if there's a duplicate, is there a way to merge the two? So we don't have a built-in merge functionality, but what we do have is if you already know off the back that your names do not match, rather than doing a client sync and import, you can always manually link a client to your QuickBooks clients, right? That way you avoid duplicates inside of your account. So typically if you have clients inside of your Financial Sense account already, you would just go into the client's profile, similar to what Michael showed earlier. And we have an integrations box, a section just for integrations inside of the client. And then you'll be able to link the client and it'll ask you to choose which QuickBooks client it is. And then you just link it, you select the client, and going forward, any time entries that you enter for that client will be synced over to your QuickBooks Online account to the client that you chose. Okay, so next question we have is, could you give more detail how the workflow shows up in different people's workflow in Financial Sense when a project is shared with multiple assignees? Okay, so that is actually a great question. Michael, is that something you want to address, or I can answer that question?
Either way.
All right, go for it.
Okay. So in Financial Sense, when you have multiple people assigned over here, hold on one second. So in the workflow right now, if I pull up my name, I'm going to see this project. Now, if I get my assignment done, then, and I go into my workflow, I'm not going to see that. Now, if you look at Abdullah's, now it shows up here. Now, the great thing about Financial Sense is you can set these up however you want to do that, and it easily flows into that. Now they do have settings where notifications, so that when I check that off, depending on how Abdullah had notifications set, may or may not get an email that says, hey, it's time for you to do your task. Now we have those turned off because everybody, when they come to work, pull up the workflow and they will see what's in their task, what's in their workflow, because it's here. So they don't need an extra email to tell them, hey, that's going to be in your workflow, because they're going to already have their workflow pulled up and it will be shown right there.
Yes, that's awesome. And just to add to that, each individual person can notify their notification settings. Michael, if you go to settings over on the
Oh, yes,
left-hand side and then click notifications, we get very granular with what type of notifications you can or don't want to receive. You would just go in here, enable the notifications, and also in-app notifications. So you can just browse this list and modify your notifications this way. Okay. The next question is, if a duplicate entry is made in Financial Sense, can we merge both accounts, only account, not QuickBooks? So uh, if you want to clarify what kind of entry are you referring to, I'm assuming clients. If a duplicate client entry is made, can we merge both accounts, only the accounts, not QuickBooks? So we don't have a built-in function to merge clients inside of Financial Sense. If a project is assigned to a customer, can we open it and switch the customer? You certainly can. To switch the client from within a project, Michael, go ahead and click on a project, and then you would click on actions towards the top right.
Gotta get this out of my way.
And edit. Correct. So here, then you can also search for your client and switch the client from within the project. And this will assign this project to a different client. And typically you would do that in the event that you've created a new client, but for the wrong client, maybe the name was similar for whatever reason, but you have to switch it so you can go to actions, edit, and switch the client on this page. Okay. Um, okay, so I created an ABC company in Financial Sense and I recreated it again. And sometimes I work one and then the other not realizing that I have a duplicate as both have information. Is there a way to merge? What is the option? So the only available option you have is to manually move the details of the information inside of one client and copy that information over into the correct client, the one that you want to keep. And then once you're done with that, you can go ahead and delete the client afterwards. That way you're not making that mistake again in the future. Okay, so the next question is for you, Michael. So Michael, can you explain more about your process of changing the due dates for projects when you're waiting for a client? How does this work for things like tax returns, for which there is an external due date, and do you align your project due dates for to tax deadlines?
Sure. Yeah, great question. Let me get back here. Okay, for the due dates of, as we talked about, the start date, internal, and the external due date. So when we go into a project, and let's say today we sent this client task out, and we're going to send it today, and we're going to send the notification. So today is September 21st. Yes, we want to send it. So we just sent this notification to the client. So when we do that, the staff member then comes up to actions edit, and they don't touch the start date, and they don't touch the internal due date. The only date the staff members are allowed to change is this due date. And then since we sent it on better go the right direction. Since we sent it on September 21st, and for that first request, we often give the client 6 days to respond, then we would move it out to when we want to contact the client again. So we're going to contact the client on the 27th. So we would move that to the 27th and say done. So then what will happen on September 27th, this project will be at the top of Abdullah's workflow. And then Abdullah can reach out to the client and say, hey, I haven't received your stuff. Or when the clients, this is another nice thing that they did that I didn't talk about. When the clients say they completed all of their things, you get this client info received tag. And then when Abdullah is looking at it, at the workflow, and say, oh, JTC sent in what they needed to, I can go and complete that return. Or on the 27, it will be on the top, and then Abdullah knows that, hey, I got to reach back out to JTC. They didn't respond. Now, when we do that reach out on September 27th, it's actually a phone call, and we ask them, hey, did you receive the financial sense notification? And what's the status? When are you going to give us all of these things that we need from you? And so that is that's a nice thing that with that waiting on client, when you send out the notification, that goes on. When they complete it, then the client info received. So that's how we move the due dates. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes. So when it comes to projects that are tax related, I know that some firms typically set their due dates based on the IRS tax deadline, right? So April 15th or April 17th, whenever that may be. We do have an extend due date feature that allows you to extend the due date automatically with the push of a button. But when the project recreates itself for next year, for instance, it'll keep that original due date. And that's just if you want to keep it standard, same due date for all clients. But if you leverage tags, right? Tags is important and great. If you label your clients with waiting on client, you can always, inside of your workflow, create a new view for just waiting on client. And when you switch to that view that says waiting on client, it'll just simply show you all of the projects that you're waiting on information from a client. And then that way you can follow up with those clients in that way as well. So it could be like a weekly recurring task on the firm's end. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah, for our firm, we do not tie it to the tax return deadlines. You know, the April 15th, October 16th, September 15th. The only time that we would do that is if a client gives us their documents, like we just finished the corporate filing deadline, right? And we still had clients giving us tax documents and like brand new projects. Oh, here's my QuickBooks file. I need my taxes done like last week. And the filing deadline was on Friday, right? So when we did put those projects in, we did put that due date as September 15th. But that is the only time that we tie to an actual due date is if we get new information right at the beginning of like right close to the filing deadline.
Awesome. That's very insightful. Thank you for sharing that, Michael. Okay, so next question. When emails get sent out, is there a way to change who the email's from to send an email from our firm collectively rather than personally, individually? At the current moment, no, especially if you go to client task, you'll have a drop down and select who the representative is. Unless you create like a user with where the name is the company name, at the current moment, we do not have that ability. We are looking to revamp custom client notifications. So that is on our roadmap. Okay, next question is from the client's view, do the notifications go to their email or do they have their own login to Financial Sense, the portal? So from the client's view, the client will receive an email. So when Michael goes into the client tasks and when he went to manage notifications, he can set up when to send a notification. Alternatively, he can manually send out a notification to the client. right? So that would be on this page. And currently they're all completed, but yes,
I'll,
so
I'll
if
uncheck it.
so on inside of the manage notification section here, you can either schedule when to send out that first notification, but you can also just send a one-time notification to the client. When they receive it, they'll receive an email with a link to the portal, but they'll also see the list of tasks that they need to complete inside of the email. If you click preview email over at the bottom of this page, Michael, so please,
Where did you want me
uh,
to?
preview
Oh,
email.
the email.
Yeah, so it'll look like a notification similar to this. This is not the actual notification they'll receive. It's an example, but they'll have a list of things that they need to complete. When they click on the green button, it'll take them to their portal. We use a magic link system, so they do not have to set up a password to get into the system. As we've found that the username and password system is very difficult for clients sometimes. So this magic link just verifies their account, right? If they opted in for text message, they'll get a verification through text or a verification code through email. They'll simply enter that verification code and it'll take them to their portal where they can go ahead and upload their documents inside of the portal. So the next time they come back in, they don't have to put in a password. It'll just simply, again, send them a verification link via email where they re-verify their access. Okay. Next question. Can you create different due dates for specific tasks rather than the entire project? Is that something you want to tackle, Michael?
You definitely can. We don't, but you can create due dates. So if you're inside of a project, you can say that, oh, I want this task to be done on the 22nd. I want this task to be done on the 25th, and so forth and so forth. It is something that you can do. It's not something, I guess we've used it a couple of times, but it's not a big component of what we do.
Got it. Yes. And there's other ways that you can automate a task due date depending on the actual due date of the project, right? So you have the project level, which houses all of your tasks to get that project complete. If you click into one of the projects here, so if it, I'm sorry, just went to one of the tasks. Yes.
Okay, going into the task.
So you can set a due date specifically to this task where it says actions. So you can always just modify due dates to individual tasks. And then typically you want those due dates to be prior to the actual project due date, right? Because you can't complete a project until you mark all your tasks complete. So yes, you can have be more specific about due dates for tasks versus the entire project. Okay. I think we've caught up with all of our questions, and I'm looking at the chat. Could you explain more about budgeting and how to get client reports with their budgets? Is that something you want to address, Michael?
No, because we don't use that feature.
Okay, got it. So you do have the ability to set a budgeted amount of time that you think should require to complete a project. Um, so let's say 1040 tax returns, it may take 30 hours to complete the project. Um, so you can set a budgeted time, but then you can also track your time on that project and see what the actual time recorded is. So you'll see your budgeted time versus your time tracking, your track time. And to see that, you can go to reports over on the left-hand side and then time tracking. So I don't know if we have the ability to show in this demo, but change the time frame for the date range filter, and then just choose last month over on the left-hand side. Perfect. And Okay, so I don't believe we have enough data inside of this demo account to show it, but yes, you can typically see how much time you've allotted for a project versus how much time you've actually taken to complete the project. And you can also filter this report and view this report in different ways. So you can see it by client. So you can always aggregate all the projects for specific clients. You can view it by projects. So you can get very specific into individual projects. You can also do it by team. So you can view time entries tracked by actual people assigned to tasks. Great question. Okay, now we've truly caught up with all of our questions. All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much for being a part of this month's webinar. We truly appreciate how insightful and you showing us your world a little bit on how you leverage the financial sense to become more efficient. And again, if anybody wants to find out more about Financial Sense, you can always go to www.financial-sense.com. You can sign up for a free trial. You can also book a demo inside of our website, and we can have a more personalized session with each individual person. Okay, thank you all, and you all
Thank
have
you,
a great
Anthony.
day. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.